Your mind is not your sanctuary. It's a machine that never shuts off, constantly running the same loops, replaying the past and pre-suffering the future. We spend our lives trying to silence the noise, but here's the paradox. The harder you try to stop thinking, the louder the thoughts become. This is the essence of the mental trap. Trying to stop thought is like trying to bite your own teeth. It only creates friction. What if the secret isn't stopping thoughts, but changing their nature? What if you could train your mind to observe the thought stream until it runs dry? These 21 micro-habits are philosophical leverage points that reset the mental machine and access the silence beneath the noise. Pillar 1. Reclaiming the anchor, the body-mind. Reset. The neurological truth is simple. Anxiety lives in the future, but presence lives in the body. When your mind spirals into tomorrow's problems or yesterday's mistakes, it's because you've abandoned the only moment where peace actually exists. The parasympathetic nervous system is your biological reset button. These first 7 habits trigger it deliberately, using your body as an anchor to pull consciousness back from the mental storm. Habit 1. The 3-second breath reset. Before opening any door, answering any call, or starting any task, take 3 intentional breaths. Not deep breathing, just conscious breathing. You're training your nervous system to pause before engaging. This micro moment becomes a gateway between the mental chaos of what was and the clarity of what is. Habit 2. The cold water shock. When panic or overwhelm hits, run cold water over your wrists or splash it on your face. This triggers the mammalian dive reflex, an evolutionary mechanism that instantly slows your heart rate and shifts you into survival calm. Your body remembers how to be still. You're just reminding it. Habit 3. Sensory labeling. While walking anywhere, silently name 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you feel. This forces your brain into observational mode instead of analytical mode. You can't worry about tomorrow while cataloging the present moment. Attention is finite. Use it wisely. Habit 4. The foot focus. When standing in line or waiting anywhere, consciously press your feet into the ground. Feel the weight distribution, the texture through your shoes, the stability of contact with earth. This is grounding in the most literal sense. Your awareness drops from your head into your foundation. Habit 5. The one thing rule. When eating, commit to only tasting. No screen, no planning, no mental multitasking. Just the experience of food. This is monotasking as meditation. Every bite becomes an opportunity to practice presence instead of mental noise. Habit 6. Conscious posture. Every time you enter a room, correct your spine and head position. Your body signals safety or danger to your mind through posture. Stand like someone who belongs in their own life. Let your physical alignment create mental alignment. Habit 7. The water ritual. Drink water not just when thirsty, but as a deliberate act of presence. Feel the temperature, the texture, the sensation of hydration. Transform the most basic need into a moment of conscious connection with your body. These aren't relaxation techniques, they're neurological interventions. You're rewiring the default mode network, the brain's background chatter system, by repeatedly anchoring attention in physical reality instead of mental projection. Pillar 2. Reframing the illusion, the art of non-attachment. Once the body becomes your anchor, you can work with the mind's content directly. But here's what most people miss. The goal isn't to eliminate thoughts. It's to change your relationship with them. Thoughts are weather patterns, not reality. They arise, peak, and dissolve without your permission or participation. The suffering comes from identifying with them, believing they represent truth instead of recognizing them as mental phenomena. Habit 8. The thank you mind response. When a negative or looping thought appears, internally say, "Thank you for the input, mind," and dismiss it. You're creating psychological distance. The thought becomes something your mind produced, not something you are. This simple phrase transforms you from the victim of your thoughts into the observer of them. Habit 9. The temporary label. Label every strong emotion as temporary. This anger is temporary. This worry is temporary. This excitement is temporary. Neuroscience confirms that emotions have a natural lifespan of 90 seconds when left unresisted. The label reminds your system that all mental weather passes. Habit 10. The external filter. If a thought is about someone else's behavior, choices, or opinions, immediately label it as "not my business." This is Stoic wisdom in action. You have zero control over external events, only your response to them. Stop wasting mental energy on what you cannot influence. Habit 11. Thought classification. Instead of engaging with a thought, classify it. Is this a plan, a memory, a judgment, a fantasy? Don't solve it, just label it. You're moving from engagement to observation. The mind loves to solve problems, but most thoughts aren't problems. They're just mental activity. Habit 12. The reverse memento mori. Instead of remembering death, practice memento vivere. Remember to live. When you check your phone, pause and consciously notice the life happening around you before looking down. Use technology as a reminder for presence instead of escape from it. Habit 13. The acceptance pivot. When facing anything undesirable, immediately pivot. I accept this moment, regardless of my preference. Resistance is the fuel of suffering. What you resist persists because resistance is attention. Acceptance isn't approval. It's the recognition that reality is already here. Habit 14. The inner mirror. When you judge another person, immediately ask, where does this judgment live in me? External criticism is always a mirror for internal work. Use your reactions to others as a map for your own shadow. Every judgment reveals something you haven't accepted about yourself. Pillar 3. Mastering the flow. The Wu-Wei integration. With your body as anchor and your mind as observer, you can now integrate the highest principle. Wu-Wei, effortless action. This is the Taoist art of doing without forcing, achieving without striving. It's the difference between swimming against the current and flowing with it. The final 7 habits aren't about adding more effort to your life. They're about removing the friction that creates mental turbulence in the first place. Habit 15. The 5-minute no-input zone. Schedule 5 minutes daily where you actively refuse all external input. No phone, no book, no conversation, no music. Just sit. This isn't meditation with technique. It's allowing your mind to settle naturally, like sediment in still water. The brain's default mode network begins to quiet when it's not constantly processing new information. Habit 16. The good enough release. When any task reaches 80% completion, release the need for perfection and move on. Perfectionism is mental violence disguised as high standards. It's the ego's attempt to control outcomes that are ultimately beyond your influence. Trust Wu-Wei. Sometimes the effortless action is knowing when to stop. Habit 17. Intentional transitions. Before starting any new task, pause and consciously release the previous one. Don't carry the mental energy of what you just finished into what comes next. Each moment deserves your full presence, not the residual stress of the last moment. This prevents the mental accumulation that builds into overwhelm. Habit 18. The 1-minute review. Before sleep, briefly review your day. but only to observe where you lost your peace. Not to judge or solve, just to notice. This builds awareness without creating more mental work. You're training yourself to recognize the patterns that pull you away from presence. Habit 19. The power of the pause. Before speaking in any charged conversation, force a 2-second silence. This micro-space between stimulus and response is where freedom lives. Most mental chaos comes from reacting instead of responding. The pause is where wisdom enters. Habit 20. The universal perspective. When stress arises, picture the entire planet from space. Use cosmic context to right-size your perceived problems. This isn't minimizing your experience. It's recognizing that most of what disturbs your peace is significant only within the narrow frame of personal perspective. Zoom out. Let the universe remind you of what actually matters. Habit 21. The non-reaction commitment. Choose 1 hour daily where you commit to not reacting emotionally to anything unexpected. Simply observe the impulse to react and let it pass like a cloud. This is emotional Aikido. You're not suppressing the reaction, you're recognizing that you have a choice in how you respond to life's inevitable surprises. The 21-day framework isn't arbitrary. Neuroplasticity research shows that consistent practice over 3 weeks begins to establish new neural pathways while weakening old ones. You're literally rewiring your brain's default responses. The cumulative effect is profound. Each habit alone is almost insignificant. Together, they create a complete system for mental peace. It's like tuning an instrument. Each small adjustment seems minor, but the combined effect produces harmony. Expect resistance. Old mental patterns don't dissolve quietly. Your mind will convince you these habits are unnecessary, too simple, or not working fast enough. This resistance is proof the habits are working. The ego fights hardest when it's losing control. Peace comes through practice, not understanding. Start with the 3-second breath reset right now. Which of these 21 habits created the biggest shift for you? Share your experience in the comments below. If this helped quiet your mental noise, subscribe for more philosophical tools. Stay curious, stay awake, stay free.